Good evening, I'm Grace Brown in Hong Kong and welcome to View TV News. Coming up on tonight's show. A surge in the number of teenage suicides in the city. Concern groups raise the alarm and say more needs to be done to help troubled young people. The pro-independence group, HK National Party, asks for an extension for their written appeal to the Security Bureau, saying it's unfair that they only have 21 days. Plus, Donald Trump boosts production of his famous Make America Great Again flag in China, but may suffer from his own tariffs. First up tonight, there are serious concerns about young people's happiness in Hong Kong after a study by a suicide prevention group showed a rise in suicides among teenagers and those even younger. The Samaritan Befrienders Hong Kong says the city did see a slight overall drop in cases of suicides last year from 2016 at 916 cases. But among those aged 19 and under, there were 36 cases in 2017, 50% more than the year before. The group also said its hotline received nearly 19,400 calls and found the most common issues troubling the young callers were academic pressures and their relationships with parents. Well, for more, we are joined by Diane To, our reporter here, who's been keeping up with the latest on this story. Diane, a 50% jump in suicides among young people when the trend overall is decreasing. What's going on?
That's right. Well, the study, in fact, was just the group collecting figures from coroner's reports. So they don't exactly have the reason for this sudden surge in suicides in this particular age group. So earlier we spoke with Clarence Zhang, who is the executive director of the Samaritan Befrienders Hong Kong, which is the group that conducted this study. Now, he pointed out that there are often fluctuations in suicides every year between from year to year. And he underlined that these cases are actually different to the string of suicides that happened in Hong Kong a few years ago. Let's take a listen to what he says.
Not like 2-3 years ago that there was kind of a cluster. That at that time there was a kind of copycat effect, right? That many of the young people suicided within a very short period of time.
They are going to launch a web and mobile app next month, they're saying, to try and help young people who may be not used to communicating over the phone anymore. You know, people are mostly texting these days.
Yeah,
very few people actually talk on the phone, it seems, or fewer at least. And so they're hoping through these sort of mobile apps, then the kids would be able to reach out for help to their volunteers by messaging instead. And, you know, hopefully that will give them some way of finding relief.
So hotlines for the digital age. Well, hopefully that helps. Moving on, many Qingyi and Lung Ku Tan residents showed up at the third public forum on land supply today to voice their opposition to land reclamation near their homes. A number of protesters rallied outside the community centre in Yuen Long ahead of the forum held by the Task Force on Land Supply. They slammed the ongoing public consultation as an act put on by the government. Those opposed to reclamation worried about worsening pollution, with some also saying the already bad traffic conditions would only be made worse by this kind of development. The Hong Kong National Party says it hasn't been given enough time to respond to a letter from the Security Bureau ordering the party to halt operations. The HKNP is expected to submit an appeal by August 7th, but has now requested an extension until October. Party leader Andy Chan said it's unfair that police took over 2 years to compile the information, while his party has just 3 weeks to digest everything and respond. The police force said it initiated the ban because the party poses a threat to national security through publicly promoting the city's independence. The Security Bureau will decide whether to approve the extension. A senior member of Hong Kong's police force has expressed his disappointment at a recent surge in the number of police officers arrested in the city. Police revealed on Wednesday that 24 officers were detained in the first half of the year. That's an 84% jump compared with the same period last year.
I'm sad that some of our officers have been arrested and accused of misconduct. They didn't live up to our expectation and damaged public trust.
Police have revealed details of a drug raid in Shaokei-1 last week that saw 2 people arrested and $4 million worth of cocaine seized. One of the suspects was taken away from Wan Chai police station last night, although it's not clear where to. Officers carried out the raid last Thursday after detaining a 28-year-old man at North Point. Authorities later searched a car garage in Shaokei-1 owned by the suspect and discovered 2 kilograms of cocaine and drug packaging equipment. A 29-year-old man was also arrested at the scene. Police believe the garage was being used to distribute the drugs. Commerce and Economic Development Chief Edward Yao was out to pitch the new plans to bring 5G to Hong Kong, saying its development will help us become a smart city. His team jointly launched a public consultation with the Communications Authority 2 days ago. Yao said the high-speed network can be applied to development in transport, medical fields and many others. He's confident the price won't be too high since there's competition among telecommunications operators. Yao added the government can just assign spectrum to operators because there's enough supplies, they won't have to bid for it.
What's good about this arrangement is, one, it reduces the production cost when there's no bidding needed. Second, it saves time.
Coming up next, the latest from the world of business. Let's start with a look at how U.S. markets ended on Friday. Wall Street's major indexes fell after lower-than-expected earnings from major tech companies. CBS shares also plummeted, falling more than 6% in regular trade after allegations of sexual misconduct, intimidation and retaliation by 6 women against the company's president and CEO. Fred Katayama reports.
Tech stocks dragged Wall Street lower on Friday. The Dow snapped its 3-day winning streak, and the Nasdaq fell nearly 1.5%. Earnings a culprit, this time with disappointing results from Intel and Twitter on the heels of Facebook's weak revenue forecast that alarmed investors. A&G Capital Chief Investment Officer Hillary Kramer says some of the big-name tech stocks known as FANG, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Alphabet, have peaked.
The days of FANG and these tech companies are over, but I have to say it wasn't like Mark Zuckerberg didn't warn us. Mark Zuckerberg told us we can't really blame Facebook management for that kind of drop. It has to do with these algorithmic traders and no one really listening to management.
Twitter shares plunged. The microblogging company's monthly active user base surprisingly shrank. Twitter warned that key number could fall further. Intel sank. The chipmaker's quarterly sales to data centers rose less than analysts had expected. It also said it's delaying the release of its next-generation chips again. CBS shares tumbled. The television network said it would investigate the claim of sexual harassment by its CEO, Les Moonves. Reuters could not immediately reach Moonves for comment. Solid earnings drove European stocks to new 6-week highs. Telecom stocks led the march.
America's economy has just grown at its fastest pace in nearly 4 years, with GDP expanding 4.1% in the second quarter, meeting economists' expectations. Consumer spending fueled that growth, but so did government stimulus, along with farmers. Many rushed shipments of soybeans to China before trade tariffs took effect in July, meaning the growth might not last. The second quarter strength also means the Federal Reserve is more likely to raise rates again, which could also cool the economy. To China's eastern province of Anhui, where one factory has seen a surge in orders for flags advertising the 2020 election campaign of U.S. President Donald Trump. But in a perhaps unanticipated snag for Trump, his made-in-China merchandise could soon be hit by his very own tariffs. Grace Lee has the story.
Red, white, and blue with the words "Keep America Great." These are the banners for Donald Trump's second-term campaign in 2020. But as it turns out, the U.S. president's flags might get burned by his very own tariffs, because the factory that's been churning them out is located here in eastern China. The Jihao flag company in Anhui has been ramping up production, turning out about 90,000 banners since March. The factory's been making Trump banners since he was a candidate, with the tagline, "Make America Great Again." At about $1 a piece, it seems even suppliers to the Trump campaign can't resist the low price. And that means, for now, business is good, as Reuters' Shihao Zhang reports from Anhui.
The worker told me the production has been great here. Flags are flying out of this factory, and they make 10,000 of these Trump flags a month.
The Trump administration has imposed tariffs on $34 billion worth of products from China. After Beijing retaliated in kind, Washington announced levies on an additional $200 billion worth of goods and threatened more, targeting potentially all of China's exports to America, including flags.
Time for a short break now, but do stay with us.
There's a saying that goes, all you need is 6 dots to connect the world. Knowledge comes from curiosity about our planet. Classic is the prized collection of 73 billion people. Art is the soulmate who you've been waiting for. The world is a collective dream. Fall in love with life. Seize the heart-pounding moment. Be a perfect mirror. Stay true to yourself. The world is bigger than you think. See beyond what you see. Channel 96, View TV 6. Connect the world. Take a trip to the land down under. Behind every native animal surviving in the wild.
Can we talk about this?
Or the furry babies living in different households.
This is a massive open gash. I don't think your positioning is too bad.
There's a dedicated veterinary team.
That's just such a good result.
Because animal lives matter.
Look after my girl.
Thank you so much.
Bondi Vet. Tonight at 8 on View TV 6. The hottest local news, trending international stories, weekly review, topics that affect our communities, in-depth analyses and opinions. All that you need is in one place. Weekly review. Sunday night at 9 on View TV 6. No food.
Need some food.
No shelter.
I have to build up my shelter.
No fresh water.
There we go. I need this.
No tools.
This I can make use of.
No camera crew.
There's just not enough to gather here. There's not enough to hunt.
Just one man alone in the wilderness, surviving. Survivor Man. Wednesday night at 8:30 on View TV 6. A man with a serious taste for travel.
So many people here tell us we couldn't go wrong.
Oh, gorgeous.
5-star hotelier becoming a tour guide.
Now, here we are. Come on, girls, will you come on? We're going today. Very nice.
Taking holidaymakers on the surprise trip of a lifetime.
You all ready for this? And actually, all the people really enjoyed it. Happy, and laughing.
Francis Brennan's Grand Indian Tour. Tonight at 7:30 on View TV 6.
Welcome back. Just days after Imran Khan appeared to have declared victory in Pakistan's general elections, a group of rival parties are calling foul. They're now threatening to take to the streets unless there's a re-election. Dhruv Tikekar reports.
Human rights violation.
This was the moment just days ago when Pakistani cricket icon Imran Khan laid claim to a stunning political victory. In a televised speech peppered with populist pledges, the former cricket star rolled out his plans to rid the country of poverty and corruption. Even the former ruling party under Nawaz Sharif accepted the defeat that looked poised to bring Khan and his PTI party to power. But that momentum has taken a back seat, with rival political parties threatening nationwide protests if there isn't a re-election.
We do not consider this election to be the mandate of the public, but a robbery of the people's mandate. We reject the claims of those people who are claiming victory as a result of this election, and we do not want to give them the right of governance.
Monitoring groups in the EU, meanwhile, also appeared to strengthen the case for a re-vote after reporting that the leadership election featured a, quote, lack of equality.
Candidates with large political appeal and financial means, the so-called electables, often dominated the campaign. And uneven rules on campaign spending further undermined equal opportunity for candidates.
With most of the votes counted, Khan's party is leading with 115 seats in the 272 National Assembly constituencies being contested. That's far ahead of the closest rival, PMLN, on 64. A total of 137 seats is required for a ruling majority. Khan, though, has already begun his search for coalition partners, and in his victory speech on Thursday, vowed to investigate claims of vote rigging in the disputed elections.
Cambodians head to the polls tomorrow in an election that's been widely condemned a sham. The US and EU are refusing to send international observers after independent media outlets were closed down and the opposition outlawed. At the Tol Kok Primary School in Phnom Penh, volunteers swept classrooms and laid out wooden desks, transforming rooms into polling stations. Prime Minister Hun Sen is set to win comfortably, having dissolved the main opposition party. Leaders of the disbanded group, which came close to pulling off a surprise victory in the last general election in 2013, are urging a boycott of the vote. That's something officials have been quick to condemn.
If you call for boycott, it is illegal. Illegal because we have Article 142, the law of the election of the National Assembly. The people want to obstruct the election, they will be punished.
A fast-growing wildfire in North California has killed a second firefighter after high winds drove it into the city of Redding, prompting mass evacuations. Large swathes of land in the area were enveloped in flames as the fires raged into the night. Scores of homes and buildings have been destroyed by the flames. The fire's footprint grew 60% overnight and has already scorched around 18,000 hectares of land. The blaze was just 3% contained as ground crews, water-dropping helicopters and airplane tankers battled the flames for a fifth day.
I didn't realize how much my home means to me and the community, you know, and everybody, all the community. We're just kind of all what I see happening with all the community that's off the hill. We're also, you know, it's almost like a therapy thing, you know. We're all in the same place and dealing with the same thing.
Meanwhile, residents of a small Greek resort town are reeling from the country's worst wildfire in a decade, with the death toll of more than 80 still expected to go up. Questions are mounting over the devastating forest fires, with many asking who is responsible. Rosanna Philpott reports.
3 days of national mourning ended on Friday in Greece, but for many hit by devastating wildfires here, the grief is only just beginning. At this DNA lab, families are looking for answers. As they enter with strands of hair from their missing loved ones to be examined, bodies which have been identified leave the building in coffins. Upwards of 82 people are known to have died in what's one of the worst Greek disasters in living memory. As questions mount, so does the blame. This woman confronting Greece's defence minister yells that no one was notified. The fire engines didn't come and the village was left to the mercy of God. Another says they were left to burn like mice. Many are furious over what they call a useless emergency response. On Friday, Greece's opposition blasted the government for what it calls an utter failure to protect lives. The government says there was no time to evacuate people because of how quickly the blaze spread. They now suspect it could have been arson, started in 3 locations at the same time and deliberately timed during strong winds. At the scene, teams are continuing to search the scorched ground and coastline. Dozens of people are still missing, including 9-year-old twin sisters. And the death toll is expected to rise.
Time for sports. Starting with cycling, and Welshman Geraint Thomas is in prime position to win his maiden Tour de France after he retained the overall leader's yellow jersey in a lively 19th stage. It was Slovenian Primož Roglič, though, who won the stage. The former ski jumper failed to drop Thomas several times in the last climb up the Col de Albergesque, but the descent, Roglič found the best trajectories through thick fog and never looked back, beating Thomas by 19 seconds to reach third place overall. Dutchman Tom Dumoulin stayed second ahead of today's decisive individual time trial. He's 2 minutes and 5 seconds behind Thomas overall. Defending champion Chris Froome, meanwhile, slipped down to fourth. He's not had a good run in the race and apparently an even worse run of luck. Video posted on social media showed Froome getting into a heated exchange on Wednesday with police who mistook him for a fan and caused him to crash. After a bad day on the 17th stage, Team Sky said Froome was riding down to his team bus when police asked him to stop, thinking he was one of the many fans who ride up the hill to watch the competition. He then crashed but wasn't injured. To tennis, and the big names crashed out of the German Open quarterfinals in Hamburg. Top seed Dominic Thiem got a shock after he lost to Chilean Nicolas Jarry. The match was tight, but Jarry showed resilience against the 2018 French Open finalist, fighting back from 2-5 down in the first set and 3-6 in the second tiebreak. And the 22-year-old did just enough to down Thiem 7-6, 7-6, gaining arguably the biggest win of his career. Jarry will be facing Georgia's Nicolas Basilashvili in the semi-finals later tonight. The 26-year-old sent third seed Pablo Carreño Busta packing in another quarterfinal surprise. With a number of fierce winning shots and 6 aces, he overpowered the Spaniard to win in straight sets. Final score 7-3, 6-4. The big Premier League clubs are currently globetrotting on their pre-season tours. Manchester United, City Spurs and Liverpool are all in the United States. Chelsea have been in Australia, while Arsenal are in Singapore, where their star player Mesut Ozil has been creating headlines this week, as Matt Gooderick reports.
Yes, the German's Arsenal teammates have been rallying around him in the wake of his controversial retirement from international football and criticism of the German FA. Ozil claimed he made the decision because of racism and disrespect due to his Turkish roots. Well, the playmaker has joined up with his teammates in Asia, where he seems to have their full backing.
As a team, we support him here. We try to make sure that he feels good, that he can train and he can perform at his best. So that's all we can do. And obviously, his decision is his decision, and we have to respect it. Everybody should respect it.
Jose Mourinho has been moaning about the lack of players he has to call on in Los Angeles. A large portion of his first-team players are yet to rejoin the squad following, of course, the World Cup. He believes this will be a disadvantage for them come the start of the season in just 2 weeks' time.
Of course, I'm not happy to have just a few players. I don't have the majority of the players that are going to be in the squad on the 9th of August, when the market closes and we can make the squad official.
Meanwhile, Manchester City's new signing Riyad Mahrez has been talking about his reasons for joining City from Leicester for nearly $80 million. The forward has joined up with his new teammates in the US and explained there was more than one reason for making the switch.
Well, it's a big club, you know. The football they play is it's amazing with a big manager, so that's why I'm here.
Well, despite Mahrez joining City, manager Pep Guardiola has warned fans that their rivals will be stronger than last season. City, remember, won the title with a record number of points and goals. But he said his players should expect a tougher fight for the title. We'll soon find out, won't we? The Premier League kicks off on August the 9th.
Sky gazers all over the world have witnessed the longest blood moon eclipse of the 21st century. It was visible in Australia, Dubai, Brazil, as well as most of Asia and Africa. The total eclipse lasted 1 hour, 42 minutes and 57 seconds. Experts say it's the longest us Earthlings will get a chance to see until 2123. Enthusiasts, big and small, explained why this time round it was so remarkable to see.
The moon is about to be fully covered by the Earth's shadow, and this is a really rare event, and it doesn't always happen in Sydney. And also, the moon, the Earth, the Sun and Mars, they're all in a straight line, so it's a really good chance to see Mars and the moon.
I think just the colour of the moon was just something very surreal that you wouldn't have seen before, and the rapidity of the moon disappearing into that sort of red hue was, it was just a very surreal, lovely experience.
That's it for now. Join us again at 11:30 for an update on all the stories shaping your world. I'm Grace Brown, and this is View TV News.